Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this presentation. My name is Gabrielle Diaz, and today I will be discussing the truth on vaping and how its changes over the years have led to where it is today. With younger populations, it's grown in popularity, and research has shown that even youth and even some adults who are vaping don't understand and know the concepts of these devices and how they can harm you and your health. So this presentation will cover all of that and then some. Let's get started. In this presentation, we will be discussing what vaping is and what devices are used to vape. We'll also talk about the components of these e-cigarettes, a little history about vaping, and then where vaping is now in the news and in social media. Some resources will also be provided at the end for those who would like more information or have any further questions about anything that they see. So what is vaping? Vaping by definition is the action of inhaling a vapor created by an electronic cigarette, also known as an e-cigarette, or any other kind of vaping device. So you're probably wondering how all of this works. So now we can get into the anatomy of it. So e-cigarettes are made up of the battery, which is on the left side of the picture, the atomizer with a heating coil, which is on the right side of the picture, and lastly you have the absorbent material that absorbs the liquid. In this picture, you have the white in the middle being the absorbent material or the cotton, and then you have the black stars representing the flavorings. Since each e-cigarette has a different size or shape, as we'll get into, the anatomy of each one is a little different, but they all have the same 3 to 4 major components. And the battery allows the atomizer to heat up the liquid, also called e-liquid, e-juice, and then this creates the flavor and the aerosol that is inhaled into the lungs and then exhaled out into the air. In the coming slides, we'll be looking at different types of e-cigarettes as well as go into the components of all of the flavorings. As I said before, e-cigarettes come in many different shapes and sizes. Some of the earlier models look very similar to a traditional cigarette, as you can see on the left side of the picture. And then you have ones that are more colorful, making them, attractive to youth. And then you have others that are much bigger. In the middle, we have a box mod, which is another type of e-cigarette. And then you also have a cigarillo, an electronic cigar, and then you even have a pipe. If you look in the middle of the pipe, you see that there's like a clear piece. That's actually where the e-liquid would go into, where then it will be inhaled and exhaled. And then you'll see as the newer ones, they don't really have that big bulky shape. And as you can see, they are much smaller. In these pictures, these are more of the modern looking e-cigarettes that are currently on the market. They're much smaller, making them easier to hide either in small pockets, up shirt sleeves, in backpacks, in purses, whatever it may be. On the left, we have a Juul, which is the most well-known and most popular e-cigarette currently on the market. It is commonly mistaken for a USB drive, more specifically by older adults, so they don't really think anything of it if they see it, in their kid's backpack or whatever it may be. Underneath the Juul, you have some of the pods that are interchangeable, and each color represents a different flavor. So the green is mint, they have an orange one, which is mango, and then the brown one, which is just the normal tobacco flavor. On the right-hand side, you have more modern-looking e-cigarettes. Again, very similar to the Juul. Small, discreet, making it easy to hide, a very attractive looking to younger kids. So now we're going to be talking about the flavors and some of the components of what builds up the flavor. Currently on the market, there are over 15,500 flavors. These flavors are mainly created to hide the taste of all the chemicals that are inside the e-liquid. On the left-hand side, we have the pods that are made specifically for the Juul, and on the right-hand side, we have bottles of different flavors. So the Juul will take the pods, and then all the other e-cigarettes that have like that clear area where you can pour the liquid into will take the liquids on the right. So if you look closely at the labels of the bottles on the right-hand side, you can see how close they represent and look like popular candy brands. So the one all the way on the right looks like Sour Patch Kids. The second one in on the left looks like Swedish Fish, and then the one directly in the middle looks like the Trolley Sour Candies. These marketing practices are targeting products to youth, and not only who are not old enough, but also not legal to purchase them. Parents may buy these for their children not knowing what some of these contents are, and out of all the flavored e-juices, almost all of them contain nicotine, and all Juul pods contain nicotine in them. On the next slide, we have a list of all the chemicals that have been found in a traditional cigarette. Take a few moments to look at this list. Do you see any that you may recognize? Some of the chemicals that jump out to me personally, there's aluminum, tin, lead, and acetone. So looking at this list, how many of them do you think have been found in e-cigarette flavorings? Take a minute. So it turns out that all of them have actually been found. And the scary thing is, once two chemicals are combined, a whole new chemical is created. So this just goes to show not only how many chemicals haven't been discovered yet, but how dangerous it can be to use these devices and these flavorings. I would like to take some time to review where some of these chemicals have also been found. So first up, we have propylene glycol, which has been found in antifreeze. The next chemical, acetone, has been found in something that is often used in nail salons. It's nail polish remover. And ethylbenzene is a chemical that has been found in many paints. And then finally, we have rubidium. Rubidium is a chemical that has been found in fireworks. So if you're ever asked to use an e-cigarette, or your child asks about it, think about all of these chemicals that are inside them before you make your decision. If you have kids who you think may be using, tell them this information and see what their reaction is. I want to quickly discuss a part of vaping that is not known by most people. The cloud is known as the vapor cloud that is exhaled from your mouth after the vaping device is used. Most people believe that it's just made of water vapor, but it's actually not just water vapor. It's actually an aerosol that is created by the mixture of chemicals that were either in the e-juice or in the chemicals that were created during the heating process. And this aerosol can then be in the air after it's exhaled, and then it can land on furniture or on other objects in the area, exposing people to secondhand and third-hand smoke. So secondhand smoke is when you're smoking around somebody, and if you exhale it into the air, they can directly be exposed to that. So that would be secondhand exposure. And then third-hand smoke is a newer discovery, and basically when you are vaping either on a couch or near furniture, and you exhale it out, and all the chemicals they go down on the furniture, anybody who sits or goes near it can be exposed to those chemicals that were left on whatever it may be. So I quickly want to go over some facts. So the first fact, the amount of nicotine that's inside one Juul pod is the same as one pack of cigarettes. So some people can go through a pod in just a couple of hours, which means that they smoke the amount of nicotine that's in one pack of cigarettes in that short amount of time. So in Connecticut, you have to be 21 years old to purchase any tobacco-related products. This is a new law that was implemented back in October of 2019. Before then, it was 18 years old, but state legislation decided to raise this age because they felt that youth would have a harder time getting these products, meaning that they wouldn't be able to get them at the store or the gas station, wherever they're buying them. And they can't rely on people, high school seniors or whoever is 18 years old that they spend time with to buy them. So no single e-cigarette or vaping device has been regulated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. This still stands true, and we'll see as we go over the history that many times it's tried to been there's products that's tried to be approved, but they have not had any. So this is an interesting one. Vaping is not an effective way to quit smoking cigarettes for youth. And this is true. For youth, it's been proven that vaping e-cigarettes actually leads to smoking traditional cigarettes. It may be effective for someone who's in their 40s or their 50s and they decide that they want to use a vaping device to quit. But for youth, it has that opposite effect. Adolescents who vape are 4 times more likely to start smoking cigarettes. So this builds off of the previous statement. Nicotine affects impulse control and learning, which causes mood disorders and other changes to the brain. The human brain develops until we turn 25 years old, so any changes can happen before then, and if they do, they can affect your health long term. And we're familiar with the concept of nicotine from traditional cigarettes, but like we said before, nicotine is in almost all e-liquids and definitely all in all jewel pods. And then in 2014, e-cigarette advertising cost $88.1 million. That was only a couple years ago, about 6 years ago. This number is increasing every single year. We're starting to see advertisements for vaping devices either online, on children's websites, commercials, you name it, it's out there. So now we will briefly discover and discuss the history of vaping. So the history of vaping, the first documented reference to an electronic cigarette is dated back about 90 years ago by a man named Joseph Robinson. And he's on the left side here. It wasn't until about 1965 when a man named Herbert A. Gilbert created the first device that closely resembled a modern e-cigarette, but it was never commercialized. So years later, 1979, both research and technology had advanced, and a man named Phil Ray created the first commercialized e-cigarette. It did not do well since it wasn't a promising tool for delivering nicotine, so unfortunately, it failed. So during the 1980s and the 1990s, there was not really any advancements in this technology. The FDA did not approve any patents, and it wasn't until about 2003 when the first successful electronic cigarette was created in Beijing, China, by a man named Han Lik. He was inspired by his father, who died from lung cancer, to create an alternative for smoking cigarettes. And then in 2006, we see electronic cigarettes are starting to be introduced to Europe and the United States. After years of exposure, countries started to suspend the sale and possession of e-cigarettes. Countries such as Turkey, Australia, Canada, and Hong Kong all took this step. The World Health Organization stated that they don't consider this to be a legitimate smoking cessation aid, and the FDA still decided to not regulate any e-cigarettes that's on the market. So that was 2008 to 2014. Now fast forward to 2015, where Juul is founded by 2 young men who went to Stanford University. These devices, they grew in popularity and they started to get attention from younger generations. So the research started to show that younger generations were starting to become addicted to e-cigarettes, and they started to question their marketing practices. So more recently, Juul's headquarters was raided by the FDA on their marketing practices to see, if they had any ties to seeing, if they were targeting youth or not. And then meanwhile, while this is all going down, cities and states are beginning to talk about banning the sale of flavorings and just the sale of tobacco products, to people under the age of 18. Last year, we saw the death toll rise as hospitalizations of vape-related illnesses increased, specifically in the August to September months. A lot of research is still being done, so here's what we know as of right now. Patients with cases associated with e-cigarette illness are now diagnosed with EVALI, and EVALI stands for e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury. As of February 18th, there have been about 2,800 cases reported of EVALI to the CDC from all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Among these cases, there have been 68 deaths among 29 states and Washington, D.C. And all patients who have been hospitalized reported a history of using e-cigarettes prior to their illness and or death. This slide shows the number of hospitalizations by state. In Connecticut, we are in the 100 to 149 cases range, and some of the larger states have more cases reported. If you look at Texas, California, and New York, since they have more people, they have more cases related, and they're in that anywhere from 150 to 249 cases. All states have at least one case. More recently, we have seen emergency department visits related to e-cigarette or vaping product use decline, which is great. But why do you think that is? Well, there's more than one answer, and if you would like, take a minute to write down a couple of reasons why you think they are declining. We'll definitely revisit these later. We will now discuss vaping in the news and in social media. Showing how it's portrayed in the media will help us answer the question that we talked about on the last slide. So as we go through these final slides, feel free to add any ideas to your answer. This slide highlights some of the important headlines that have been written in the news. The headlines I chose really stuck out to me, and as you can see, it's really hard to keep up with reading them because many news stories come out about vaping each and every day. So as you can see, a lot of them are talking about people who have either been hospitalized, who's died, what's happening state by state, what the CDC is saying. Like I said, just a new headline every single day. So I ended it with this one. The vaping panic is out of hand. This is something that has gained popularity so fast in our society, and some people aren't sure how to handle it. Even the research, it's still going on today, so we don't have all the answers. But what we do know right now about it is accurate, and it's important that we pay attention and understand how we can use our platforms to encourage people to do the right thing, which is in this case is to not vape and to encourage our youth and our children not to participate in it at all. So now we're going to talk about social media, particularly Instagram, which is one of the most popular and used social media sites today. So Instagram is a social media platform that is used to share photos with people, and it can reach thousands and thousands of people with just a single hashtag. So in here, I've included a picture on the slide with the hashtag vape to show what kind of pictures show up when you search it. So as you can see, there are some pictures of different flavorings. There are some pictures of customized devices that people either, put on them with stickers, or they purchase them that way. And then they even show a picture, some videos of young people using them. So anyone who has Instagram can access these photos. Unfortunately, it is out there for young people to see. So as as parents, it's important to talk about what they might be seeing on Instagram or monitoring what they see because this is all available at the palm of their hands. So on one hand, you have people who use their social media platforms to, show their support, show them that they're vaping, whatever they might be doing. But fortunately, you have some people who use their social media platforms and their accounts to advocate for healthier lifestyles, specifically not vaping. So I came across this young man's Instagram account. His name is Chance. Chance was hospitalized for 8 days because both of his lungs collapsed from vaping. He used e-cigarettes a lot. He said that he would probably go through, a pod every couple of hours, and that caused his lungs to collapse. And ever since his tragic event, he uses his platform now to share his story and to share his message with young people. So his messages are to change your mindset, to get rid of your e-cigarette, specifically your Juul, and to not vape. He hopes to inspire others to do the same. He's been on The Ellen Show, he's been on other talk shows. On the left-hand side, you see a picture of him and his mother together. This was taken after at the hospital after he was recovering. And on the right-hand side, you see a picture of him and his friend striking outside of a vaping shop. So if you want to check it out, I included his Instagram username as well as the username to his foundation that he started called Lung Love Foundation. National organizations also use their platforms to portray similar messages, such as Truth and Truth Initiative. So I'm not sure if you may have heard of them before, but they are a very well-known organization, and they do a lot of tobacco cessation. So I have 3 of their posts here that stuck out to me and that I wanted to share. So post 1 shows how 1 pack of cigarettes, so about 20 cigarettes, is the same as 1 pod. Both of them have the same amount of nicotine, but it just goes to show how so much can be held in so little. The second post in the middle shares information about their Text to Quit program. The Truth Initiative has hopped on. They are adapting with the new technology, what younger kids are into, and now since most of them have cell phones, they were able to address their new Text to Quit program. They just text a number. They text a code to a number, and what they do is they'll send them tips and motivation, quotes to just how to stay quit and to quit and how to stay quit. It's really great because you can do it from the confidentiality of your own phone. You don't have to let anybody know that you're doing it. And these days, every young child has a phone. So post 3 shares how flavored Juul pods are hooking youth into using them. So with this picture, I really liked it because I thought it did a good job. So you have the fish hook, you have the 2 flavors, the mint and the mango, and then you have the the Juul pod all on 1 hook. So I thought that was very clever of them. So these 2 sources are known for their tobacco cessation research, and their advertisements are phenomenal. And they have a lot of information on their website. So if you would like to get more information, I included their Instagram usernames at the top. So Truth Orange and Truth Initiative. And on this slide, I have those 3 pictures. And then if you would like more information, I have their website listed at the end of this presentation. So, what can we do as parents, role models, family members? What can we do to stop ourselves and others from vaping? The first thing that we can do is educate. We can educate ourselves, our family members, friends, anybody that we spend time with. The second thing that we can do is to look into additional resources, such as the following websites. I included the Truth Initiative on there. I know we discovered some of their posts from Instagram, but they have lots more information on their website. Smokefree.gov is also another great resource. They have sources for everybody, teenagers, older adults who have been smoking traditional cigarettes, specifically have stuff targeted specifically for women, men, everything. And they also have a Text to Quit program as well. So that's something that definitely look into. Also, if you check out, your local news outlets, they might have some information. The Town of Fairfield Health Department page has a great page on just different resources, different videos, activities that you can do, and even information on how to talk to your kids on how to quit. One of the most important things that we can do is to love our lungs and take good care of them. Just don't vape. You'll be doing yourself a favor as well as practicing good health habits, and you'll even be setting a good example to any children that you either live with or you spend your time with. The last thing that I would like to mention before we end this presentation is that we mentioned this idea that emergency department visits related to e-cigarette or vaping products are declining, which is great again, but this doesn't mean that we can stop the conversation. The best way to stop others from vaping is to continue the conversation on why we shouldn't do it, spreading the accurate information that we know and from the other resources that I've provided and even from this presentation. If we continue this conversation on, why we shouldn't do it, that's a big step in the right direction, and that's the only way that we'll be able to see these changes happen, especially in our small community. So this concludes the presentation on e-cigarettes and vaping. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you take something from this presentation and share it with someone. I've left my contact information on this slide if you have any questions and would like to reach out. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.